Welcome, everyone, to Agile Highlanders. I am seriously so excited to have you here today. Our goal in this explainer is to take two of the biggest, literally most buzzed about words in modern project management right now, Agile and Scrum, and just completely demystify them. We're going to break both of these concepts down simply, clearly, and use real-world logic so you can actually put these ideas to work. Whether you're a developer, a manager, or honestly just someone who is completely tired of confusing corporate jargon, you are absolutely in the right place. So let's just dive right in.
So tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever been part of a project that was perfectly planned, down to the minute, and then it just completely fell apart? You spend months mapping everything out, creating this gorgeous, perfect timeline, and then reality hits. Maybe the client completely changes their mind halfway through, or the market shifts entirely, or maybe by the time you finally deliver the product, nobody actually wants what you built anymore. It is incredibly frustrating, isn't it? Well, you're definitely not alone. This exact scenario happened to thousands of software teams back in the 1990s, and that widespread, massive frustration is exactly what gave birth to the solutions we're looking at today.
Well, to really get the solution, we first have to take a look at the problem. The old way of doing things is what we call the waterfall method, and it was exactly what it sounds like, a heavy, step-by-step planning process. Teams would write these massive, absolutely exhaustive documents, create long and flexible plans, and then just execute them agonizingly slowly over months or even years. And the result? Projects dragged on literally forever. Adapting to a change was nearly impossible. And worst of all, companies found that by the time a product was finally ready, the customer's needs had completely changed.
Watching this whole evolution unfold is just fascinating. Pre-1990s, we were kind of stuck in the dark ages of that rigid waterfall method. But in the 1990s, a sort of rebel alliance of practitioners started experimenting. They were looking for lighter, faster ways of working, methods with cool names like Scrum and extreme programming. They wanted a better, common way to work that actually focused on people, working software, and learning while you build. And all of this culminated in a massive turning point in February of 2001, the Snowbird meeting.
Now, here's a number for you. 17. In that chilly February of 2001, 17 software experts actually went to the Snowbird ski resort in Utah. But get this, they didn't even go to ski. They went to talk about these new lightweight methods. They sat down, they compared notes on what was actually working for their teams, they looked for similarities, and they set out to find a common language for this brand new, much faster, more adaptable way of working. And out of that very meeting came the Agile Manifesto. It's actually kind of shocking when you think about it. A document that literally revolutionized how complex work is done globally. It's only 68 words long. That's right, just 68 words covering its core values. Yet it sparked a massive shift that has since expanded far, far beyond just the software industry. It's what gave us the word Agile as we use it in business today.
So, what does a 68-word manifesto actually say? It centers on four big, this is more important than that, value pairs. Basically, it dictates that people and talking, working products, customer partnership, and adapting to change are the true priorities. Things like heavy processes and tools, massive documents, contract battles, and blindly following a rigid plan, well, they take a back seat. Now, a really crucial point here is that Agile doesn't hate tools, documentation, or plans. Not at all. It just says that in a world that keeps changing constantly, the human element matters significantly more than strict rules. It's all about valuing the left side over the right side.
A bit later, those same experts added 12 principles to kind of explain what this philosophy should actually look like in real, everyday projects. Think of these as your Agile house rules. You can mentally group them into four main themes. First, deliver fast and often. Welcome changes and ship working pieces frequently. Second, put people first. The business folks and the developers absolutely must talk daily, face-to-face when possible, and you have to trust motivated people to just do the job. Third, keep quality simple. Your main measure of progress is a working product, and you have to maintain a sustainable pace so your team doesn't burn out. And finally, constantly reflect and improve. This means self-organizing teams who regularly stop and ask themselves, hey, how can we do this better?
So, Agile is the mindset, right? But how do you actually execute it day to day? Well, that brings us to Scrum. To really understand the relationship between the two, think of it like this sports analogy. Agile is the spirit of football. It's the overarching philosophy of teamwork, adaptability, and the ultimate goal of scoring. Scrum, on the other hand, is your actual game plan. It's the specific positions, the strict rules, the match schedule, and that crucial halftime review. You obviously need the spirit of the game, but you also need a structured way to actually step onto the pitch and play it. Scrum provides that exact structure.
Okay, so what exactly is Scrum? It's a very specific framework built around small, cross-functional, self-organizing teams that can deliver value and deliver it fast. Fun fact, the name actually comes from a 1986 research paper that compared really effective product teams to a rugby scrum. You know, everyone locked in, pushing together in one single direction. Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber shaped this back in the early 1990s, which actually means Scrum existed before the word Agile was even officially coined. And today, it is absolutely the dominant way to execute Agile. Get this, it's used by over 85% of Agile teams worldwide. That is huge.
Plans, contracts, and tools still hold value. But Agile recognizes that in a fast-moving environment, human connection and the ability to adapt must come first. So Agile is the philosophy, but how do you actually practice it on a Tuesday morning? That is exactly where Scrum comes in. Agile is the set of values, and Scrum is your game plan. It is a specific playbook that brings those broad ideas to life in your daily work. It is the most widely adopted framework in the world for a simple reason. Scrum breaks work down into short cycles, giving the team clear rules to follow. You need both to succeed. Agile provides the underlying spirit, and Scrum provides the specific steps to actually get the work done. A Scrum team is small, usually 5 to 9 people. There are exactly 3 roles and 0 hierarchy. Everyone is equal. First is the product owner. They represent the customer. They look at everything the product needs and decide what gets built first to bring the highest value. Next, the Scrum Master acts as a supportive coach, actively clearing away any obstacles or bottlenecks that are slowing the team down. Finally, the developers. These are the cross-functional builders who design, test, and build the product. They self-organize, which means they decide together how best to complete the tasks. By keeping the structure flat, teams avoid waiting on a manager for every little decision. The people doing the actual work are trusted to move quickly and solve problems. Today, these ideas have moved far beyond their roots in software engineering. Agile and Scrum are now essential tools for managing complex work in almost any industry. When you work in short cycles, talk to your colleagues daily, and adjust course the moment you learn something new, you stop wasting resources on outdated plans. You deliver useful pieces of your project faster, which keeps clients happy. And because the team actually has a voice in the process, they enjoy working together. By adopting these cycles, a rigid organization gains the ability to change direction as fast as the market moves. Let's step away from software. Let's look at a bustling neighborhood bakery that runs on Scrum. Instead of guessing what pastries people might want for the entire year, they plan in short bursts. Our bakery has a product owner. Think of them as the head baker who talks to the morning customers, listens to their cravings, and decides exactly which items are the highest priority to bake next. Then we have a Scrum Master. This is a coach who makes sure the kitchen has flour, the ovens are working, and nothing blocks progress. The team itself are the developers, a multi-skilled group of pastry chefs, mixing, kneading, and doing the actual baking together. Now, take a look at this graphic. Rather than baking 1,000 loaves of an untested recipe, the team focuses on just one highlighted slice, a single, usable piece of value. In Scrum, we call this the increment. It is a small, fresh batch of a new sourdough recipe that they actually finish and put on the counter. By putting that small, finished batch out immediately, the bakers can hand out free samples. They watch the customers take a bite, listen to their feedback, and find out right away if the dough needs more salt. Testing a real working product with actual customers early on saves the bakery from wasting ingredients, time, and money on a giant batch of bread that nobody wants to eat. These same principles apply perfectly to a modern startup hub. When founders face sudden market shifts, a rigid plan cracks, but a flexible routine keeps them moving forward. To prevent panic, the startup uses a product backlog. This is simply a master prioritized wish list of everything the product might ever need, constantly updated by the product owner as new requests come in. They pull the top items from that list into the cycle shown here, called a sprint. A sprint is a protected, set time frame, usually lasting 1 to 4 weeks, where the team commits to finishing a specific set of tasks. Notice the pulsing icon added to our cycle. Every single morning, the team pauses for a quick 15-minute huddle called the Daily Scrum. They use this brief moment to sync up, ask who is doing what today, and expose any daily blockers threatening their goal. At the end of the sprint, after they show off their finished work, the team holds a retrospective. They sit down and honestly ask each other what went well and how they can work together more smoothly next time. Real business resilience comes from building a reliable, repeating rhythm that lets your team absorb new information and adjust course safely.
Now, regarding the timeline, Scrum runs in short time boxes called sprints, usually 1 to 4 weeks. This creates a continuous, steady heartbeat for the team. Let's use a super relatable real-world analogy here. Imagine you and your friends are building a treehouse over a weekend. That entire weekend, that is your sprint, the cycle where all the actual work happens. Friday night, you sit down for sprint planning to decide what parts of the treehouse to build and how you're going to do it. Every morning, you have a quick 15-minute daily Scrum, basically a quick stand-up, just to check who's doing what today and if anyone is stuck. Then, on Sunday afternoon, you hold a sprint review where you show off the working treehouse to your parents to get their feedback. And finally, you sit down for a sprint retrospective to talk about how you guys can cooperate and build an even better treehouse next weekend.
The science behind why Scrum works is actually pretty fascinating. It's built on something called empirical process control. I know it sounds super fancy and academic, but it really just means making decisions based on what you actually observe, not what you just blindly assumed at the start of the project. And it rests on 3 main pillars. First, transparency, meaning absolutely everyone can openly see the work, the progress, and the problems. Second, inspection. The team regularly checks if things are on track through their reviews and daily scrums. And third, adaptation, meaning when something is off track, you don't just ignore it and hope for the best, you adjust the plan immediately.
But here's the thing. None of those roles, none of those events or pillars actually matter at all without the human element. This is exactly why Scrum outlines 5 core values: commitment, courage, focus, openness, and respect. And let me be totally clear here, these are absolutely not just decorative buzzwords to paint on a corporate office wall. These are the essential, everyday behaviors required to make the whole framework actually function. The team must have the courage to speak up about blockers, the focus to stick to the sprint goal, and the respect to trust each other's skills completely. Without these, the whole thing falls apart.
All right, let's bring this all together to really cement the difference. People very often use these terms interchangeably, but they aren't the same. Agile is the overarching mindset and philosophy. It gives us the 4 values and 12 principles. It is flexible, and it represents the why and the what. Scrum, on the other hand, sits inside of Agile as a specific framework. It provides the highly structured how through its 3 roles, 5 events, and 3 artifacts. Both are incredibly vital, but they serve entirely different purposes. Remember, it's the spirit of the game and the actual game plan itself.
Agile is your flexible mindset, your set of guiding values. Scrum is the specific step-by-step playbook of roles and events that brings those values to life. You don't need to predict the future perfectly. You just need a motivated group of people willing to build something small, test it, learn from it, and try again. Thank you for watching Agile Highlanders. If this helped you clear up the buzzwords, please hit subscribe. In a world that refuses to stand still, mastering the ability to adapt is simply your best advantage. Gather your team, start your first sprint, and I'll see you in the next video.
Thank you so much for joining me today, and I absolutely can't wait to see you in the next Agile Highlanders Explainer.